The aim of this article is to concentrate solely on the repository function, which offers interesting opportunities. It simplifies the work of the teacher in the distribution of the didactic material to the students. It can be an educational tool for information and communication technologies. It can start off an activity with the student observing didactic material and note. The blog's characteristic is simplicity, immediacy, and multiple function. This explains the continually strong attention paid to an instrument which has already been studied from a technical viewpoint and whose use have already been described, but which continues to capture great interest in different fields. It can make one reflect on the concept of identity. It lends itself to media discussion, to politics, and to marketing. The complexity of the blog phenomena can be understood by the taxonomy proposal, which is based on the technology, the other on the content. The classification suggested by Rebecca Blood, Giorgio Nova, Gino Roncaglia are unable to cover all the varieties of the experiences. For didactic blogs, on the other hand, Campbell suggests subdividing those managed by the teachers, those managed by the class, and those by the students. Instead, Richardson talks about blogs for the class, like a portfolio or like a collaborative space for work groups. For Ann Davis, 5 types exist, while Leslie Scott divided them into those of the students, the teachers, reading, and writing. Monica Banzato proposed a first distinction between class blogs and for web publishing. None of these blog classification is represented exclusively as a repository, and being an archival instrument is marginal to its other peculiarities. Let us imagine a scene in which the teacher wants to make the students download didactic material. Dropbox, Google Drive, or OneDrive realize sharing by email or using a link. If students' electronic mail addresses are used, the teacher must have distributed the authorization of the use of the email signed by the parents or use the school forms. Often this bureaucratic passage can take a long time and not be compatible with the didactic activity planned by the teacher. Let us examine only those elements for the realization for a blog repository. One needs to choose that his is public and that the search engine can index it so that the student can find it quickly. When one publishes article with attachments, the teacher must decide the type of material in terms of contents, format, and weight to facilitate uploading. If the teacher decides that the material is not to be public, he will write a post protected by a password. The post must summarize the contents of the attached documents and be reported in the title, including the class and the subject, so that the student can find everything easily. One important function for tracing documents is that of categories and of tags. It will be useful to insert tag-like widget and the cloud tag. The activity was proposed to 5 classes for a total of 100 for students. For the students too, this instrument has shown its effectiveness through the positive feedback which the teachers have received. This instrument was used and its effectiveness proved at the organizational level in the distribution of material, and it has allowed many students to improve their method of study. Taking into consideration data on teachers which show 50% are over 50 in secondary school, the distribution of ICT in teaching is obstructed by the lack of education and the habit in the teacher's relation with technology. In fact, most teachers manifest skepticism or resistance in the subject. Therefore, the problem relative to the familiarization with technology is determined both by the age of the teacher and by the training offered, which is lacking, since it does not follow the learning patterns of novices who need the most teaching support and economic incentive in order to dedicate the time necessary to practice with ICT. From here, the usefulness of proposing the blog repository as a valid alternative to the initial training. This instrument is immediate and simple and allows for the insertion of content in Internet. The teacher can propose to the student to keep a personal blog where they can save not only the material proposed by the teacher, but also their note and utilize the post-like private ratings to reflect. The blog portfolio must be set as private so it can be visible only to the author. Through archiving, classification and document tags, the student organizes the material and systemizes knowledge, facilitating the process of learning. The blog, as a repository, is implicit in some classification, but because it is implicit, its very important function risks being neglected. The blog repository only wants to propose itself with this function of archiving, classification and categorization. Focusing one's attention only on the archive helps to understand the importance for the systematization of the knowledge of the student, thanks also to the possibility of maintaining the chronological sequence through the post recalling the class activity.